Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I've decided to just come on, not live, but just do a video of the second part of this sentencing. The judge, the court is full, the judge is in court, and I'm going to report it as it happens and then release the video. I hope we don't get any barking because I've got the big dog down here with me at the moment, and you know, she's if she does start barking, it is a little bit ear splitting, but hopefully nobody will walk past and she won't feel like she has to protect me from anybody. So here we are. So just a recap to anybody who doesn't know what this case is all about. We're live at the sentencing of Jaimie Barrow, who for some reason only known to him decided to put petrol-soaked tissues through the letterbox of his neighbours, which was a lady, Fatoumatta Hydara, and her two daughters, 3-year-old Fatimah Drama and 1-year-old Naeemah Drama. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And they all died. So the mother, who I think was 27 or 28 years old, her 3-year-old daughter Fatimah and 1-year-old daughter Naeemah all died of smoke inhalation. Mr. Barrow stood by and watched while he heard screaming coming from inside. He didn't call the authorities. He then took his dog for a walk and just let them burn. He then came back, asked when he would be able to get back into his flat. Finally, I think he did confess, and it transpired he drank 10 or 11 cans of lager, cans of San Miguel beer beforehand, and then he said he thought he didn't realise there was anybody in, even though it was 3 o'clock in the morning. There was a pram outside, and he admitted manslaughter, but he denied murder. But the jury, earlier in the week, the jury at Nottingham Crown Court found him guilty of murder. So we're here for the sentencing, and it's just started. The judge is in court. So I'll be bringing you whatever the judge says when they say it. And I think what I'll do while we're just waiting is we'll just go back to the beginning of what was said this morning, the victim impact statements. I'll just summarise. Mr. Drama was in America at the time. He was working in America, and he was trying to get a visa sorted for his family to bring his wife and the girls over. And he was speaking this morning from the witness box, where he spoke of the last time he saw them before he went off in September. So it was September last year he went off to America to work, and this incident happened in November. And he had a visa interview in London on November the 29th last year, which was trying, to do with the visa, to try and get the family moved out to America as well. He went around a shopping centre, he bought gifts for his family, but these were gifts that they never got to see. He spoke to his wife on the phone, he went to bed, and when the phone rang in the early hours, it was his mother-in-law ringing to say what had happened. Anyway, he went on to call Barrow a coward who knew exactly what he was doing. And then, of course, the mother, she was taken to intensive care. She actually died in intensive care. So he did get a chance to go and see her, but unfortunately she did pass away. She did not survive. You should be able to see these, I think. Just let me check. So this is him at the court. The things he had to say, he had to identify their bodies. It was his 40th birthday. On his 40th birthday, he had to identify their bodies. He told how he was left hopeless and helpless. He's lost all the people that mattered the most to him. I mean, I really don't see, it's so difficult for him to get over this. He's lost his whole family. He says that since then he's been on a downward plunge into a wall of darkness and into the unknown. He had to identify the bodies of his daughters too, and he described them as two beautiful angels. Okay, so, and he then addressed Jaimie Barrow directly and said the question still remains why. I still do not know why. This is what I want to know. Well, I'll tell you why, because he's a racist. That's why. And he's, of course, Jaimie Barrow now is blaming it on mental illness, which is an insult both to his victims and also to people with genuine mental illnesses that don't go around setting fire to mothers and to small children. Anyway, he said to Barrow, I don't know what will happen to you. Most days it feels like I am serving a life sentence. You, Jaimie Edwin Barrow, you acted like the judge and jury that night. You sentenced me to this. Whatever my life will become, I don't know. You acted like the judge and jury that day. This is Jaimie Barrow. Then Fatoumatta's mum, Aminata, spoke. And she said how she had settled in Nottingham and she was blessed with a husband to have 4 other children as well. She said we led a happy and simple life, and that Fatoumatta was mostly interested in working as a healthcare professional and wanted to be a nurse. She had a passion, apparently, Fatoumatta, to work with people suffering with mental illness, which is very ironic. Anyway, she was greatly loved by them because of their personalities and qualities. And Mrs. Dibba said that a crime you committed against my daughter and granddaughters has caused me great emotional, psychological and financial pain. So here is Fatoumatta, very beautiful young woman, 27, I believe, 27, 28 years old, just starting off her life, really, even though she got 2 children. So her mum said that on November the 20th, 2022, she went to the Sunday market to buy toys for her granddaughters. Fatimah wanted building blocks, and so she bought her some, but these were toys that her granddaughter never got to see. And she says, the day I found out my granddaughters' lives were taken by this monster, it was like at that moment I would be willing to do anything to swap my life for theirs. She was told her daughter was in ICU and her heart dropped. She was overcome with confusion, mystery and depression. And when she broke the news to her son-in-law, she heard the painful silence on the other end of the phone. So this is the scene outside the flat. Later you can see it's this flat here with the window open. A lot of smoke damage, obviously. I presume she couldn't get out the window. There's no way of getting out the window, I don't know. Anyway, Simon Ash, the barrister for the prosecution, said that the starting point of the minimum term should be 30 years. I think so too. It should be a lot more than that, but it won't be. But anyway, sorry about that. Okay. Come here. Come here. Right, I'm going to have to put her in there. Get in the bathroom. Go in the bathroom. So Mr. Ash, the prosecutor, said there'd been a period of time during which he had taken a series of preparatory steps. So he'd siphoned petrol from his motorbike into a cleaning bottle. So he'd planned it. It wasn't just a spur of the moment thing, which still doesn't make it right. Anyway, he drank 10 to 11 cans of beer before the fire, and he apparently was taking psychotic drugs, which was supposed to help him reduce his anger and negative thoughts, but they didn't work, did they? Anyway, apparently he stopped taking the drug before the fire, but we don't know how long before the fire, a decision which was voluntary. And the psychiatric evidence showed he had a good insight into his disorder at the relevant time. So, of course, then the defence lawyer comes along with mitigation, Christopher Henley, and I was saying in part one here, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I had a student once who was a defence lawyer, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't defend someone who I knew was guilty. I just couldn't do it. Anyway, he addressed the judge, said that Barrow had struggled the whole of his life with his mental health, spoke of the troubles of Barrow's early life. Oh my God, get the violin out. Days before the fire, Barrow was going through a particularly bleak period. Oh God, just reading this just makes me angry. I'd rather didn't say that he's trying to make people feel sorry for him. And this was reflected in the text message exchanges. There must have been some texts came up, which were full of self-loathing and hopelessness. Barrow had said he feels like he is less than pond scum. He is less than pond scum. You know, lots of people get depressed and don't then murder a family because of it. Why didn't he just take his own life if he was like so fed up? I just realised he was right, somebody said there. I just realised there's comments underneath. And then, when will Barrow be sentenced? Sentencing has started. So that's where we've got, I think while we're waiting for that, let's have a look at some of the comments. Oh, it doesn't show them. It's telling me to log in. Well, it showed me that other comment. Why is it? Let's see if I can see any of the others. No, so it only showed me that one comment for some reason. Let's see if I can see this one. Yeah, somebody here saying just 30 years for the murder of 3 people, 2 of them kids. It's got to be life. He won't get life. He will not get life. Because the only way a judge can give you life, a whole life tariff, there has to be a sexual element involved in the, you know, there's very few people get a whole life tariff. Let's have a look. While we're on here, I'll have a look at what are the conditions for a whole life tariff. Okay. Okay. So when someone is given a life sentence, they will be subject that sentence for the rest of their life. But when a judge passes a life sentence, they specify the minimum term an offender must spend in prison. I think for this guy, it's going to be 30 years. Before becoming eligible to apply for parole, which is sometimes called a tariff. Now, what I want to go to is that's no good. I want to know what a whole life tariff. No, that's not good. What is the threshold? Yeah, so let's just have a look at that. So currently, the circumstances where a whole life order is the appropriate starting point for the sentence are murder of 2 or more persons involving substantial degree of premeditation or planning. Well, he counts on that yardstick, doesn't he? He's killed 3 people. Abduction of the victim or sexual or sadistic conduct and the murder of a child involving the abduction. Where's that going to come up? Yeah, so currently the circumstances where a whole life order is the appropriate starting point for the sentence are the murder of 2 or more persons involving substantial degree of premeditation or planning, abduction of the victim or sexual or sadistic conduct, and the murder of a child involving the abduction of a child or sexual or sadistic motivation, or the murder of a police or prison officer in the course of his or her duty, or the murder done for the purpose of advancing a political, religious, racial, or ideological cause, or the murder of an offender previously convicted of murder. So what does it have to be? Well, he certainly fits into 2 of those, because there's a child, 2 children, more than 1 person. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Come back to that. Of course, the judge will start talking about it. I wonder if it'll be on Sky News. Let's have a look. Let's see. Sometimes these days they televise it, don't they? Doesn't seem to be being televised, this sentence. They normally give quite a long I think what I'm going to do is end this now and then add on the next bit. Hey, it's me again. So I'm back now with the sentence, and it's a good sentence, so it's some comfort, I think. So let me go back to where this begins. It's not often, is it, that we get a good result, a good, say good. Obviously, nothing's good. It'd be good if you'd never done it in the first place. But it's not often that we get a sentence that you think, yeah, that's a good sentence. Obviously, the best sentence is the whole life tariff, but it wasn't. We knew that according to we can't have that. But I think this is a good sentence. So let's say, let's take it from when the judge came into court and the sentence is life in prison. The minimum term is 44 years on each murder charge and 10 years on arson, being reckless as to whether life is endangered. So it was 30 years, really, I suppose, as we were thinking. But then 10 years for arson, and the sentences are concurrent, and 224 days will be deducted from his time on remand. So hang on. 44 years on each. 44 years on each murder charge. Right, okay. And I see. So it's 44 years for each murder charge, 10 years on arson being reckless. So that's actually 54 years. And the sentences are concurrent, and 224 days will be deducted from his time on remand. Barrow showed no emotion. And this is the reaction from the court outside. Don't know if we get if this is, no, it's a photo. So Monica Tucker from a local community support group speaks outside the court after Jaimie Barrow is sentenced. And this is a video. So we'll see this video from Mr. Drame, from the father who basically has lost everything.
Tan joven y muerta de calor.
We have to wait for the advert to end.
Good afternoon. This is a statement from the family of Fatoumatta Hydara, Fatimah and Naeemah, dated today, July 27, 2023. Jaimie Barrow has today been convicted of the senseless, premeditated murder of 3 innocent victims. He has shown no remorse. A loved and happily married wife, mother, sister, daughter, friend, and aunt, Fatoumatta and her 2 angelic daughters, Fatimah and Naeemah. The victims did not know Barrow and had no contact with him. There was never a complaint against them, and Barrow has yet to explain why he committed such ruthless and inhumane acts of murder and arson. Today is not a happy day for us. Today is not a happy day for us. Barrow's sentence does not bring them back. However, justice has been done, and he will never be able to inflict the pain he has caused our family on anyone else. This tragedy has caused an intergenerational trauma in our family, which we are only beginning to understand. We were a close and loving family and brought our daughters up in that environment. Our family had ambitions, hopes, and dreams, which because of Barrow can now never become a reality. But today is the first step in the long road towards healing and moving forward. So we wish to thank everyone who helped us, the 911 callers and the first responders from the party, the EMS, the under firefighters, the police and the prosecution team. We also want to thank the witness, the judge, the court clerk, and the jury for being a part of the process. We are grateful also to those in the community, the Afro-Caribbean community, the African community, and all other communities who came to support us, our family and friends who came to support us. And we continue to request your prayers. Our focus now is on our healing process. Thank you.
Right, okay, so that was very dignified. Oh, that wasn't the husband. That was it says if Mr. Drama speaks outside court, but then
necesitamos muchas manos, pero un solo corazón para poder.
Sorry. These adverts that come up. Anyway, I'm not sure who that was then, because now it's unless he was reading the statement for the father. Anyway, it's the first step on a long road, isn't it, of recovery. I still don't really know how he's going to recover from that. You can see that he's got a wide family there behind him, and he's I think he's quite a religious man, so that's how he'll get through it, I suppose. Sorry, I'm just having a coffee. And just something I wanted to mention, that in the meantime, between reporting on this, I received an email from someone who lives in the area, and I know they won't mind me saying that I got an email, but obviously I won't say who they were. And they were saying, that it's a community, it's an old mining community. Let me just let you know what they said. It's the area, the area in Clifton where it happened is a former coal pit estate. So they're white working class ex-coal miners, and their families still live there. Now, they don't like outsiders coming in, so I think it definitely was racially motivated. It might not have been a colour thing, it's just different people coming in. There's this animosity, isn't there? I mean, it's a bit like, reminds me of St. Michael's on where really, I mean, you never seen, when you think about that, you've never seen, could you imagine, you'd stick out like, that's why people stick out like a sore thumb in these communities if they're different in any way, not only in colour, you know, because everybody knows everybody and they don't like strangers, do they? You know, and especially, I think the colour was definitely an issue. They can say it till they're blue in the face, if you pardon the expression, but that was a racially motivated attack in my eyes. So yeah, they tend to not welcome new people moving into the estate. Let's put it that way. That's what this person has told me who lives in the area. Okay, let's see what have I done now? Let's see what the husband has to say. Bless him. Oh, it's not a video. It's a photo, so you can see a photo. They're obviously of African descent in some way, but they were going anyway. They were going to America. He had a job in America. They were sorting their visas out. Anyway, the CPS statement. Suzanne Llewellyn from the CPS said, tonight, that's the Crown Prosecution Service, one initials that don't normally know. Today's sentence reflects the gravity of Jaimie Barrow's crime. It is one of the most, a hate crime. It is a hate crime. You know, there's no motive. I mean, there's no excuse for murder, and especially not murdering children. But when the motive is hate, that's the worst kind. We have reminded the court of his actions on the night last November and his complete disregard for what would happen to his neighbours when he set the fire. Through his self-centred actions, he took the lives of a mother and 2 young children with their lives ahead of them. This was an offence that affected the whole community, but first and foremost, our hearts go out to the family and friends of Fatoumatta, Fatimah and Naeemah. They've endured so much that they have behaved with dignity throughout this harrowing trial. I hope that being able to see Jaimie Barrow face the consequences of his criminal actions will give them some closure and enable them to build their lives. Well, they have no choice, really, do they? They have no choice. So that's it. So don't go and live in Nottingham. I would say to anybody, I shouldn't say that. I expect there's a lot of very nice people living in Nottingham, but you've got to pick your areas. You know, sometimes you don't know about areas when you go to live in a new place. You don't know, or like this person knows because they live over the other side of Nottingham. They've got history there. They've got experience there. They know. It's like I know Manchester, or I know there's areas in Manchester that, to be perfectly honest, you know, you've got to be wary of. So especially if you don't fit in. There's some parts in Manchester. When I used to work for Ladbrokes, I used to work in some of these difficult areas, and there were things that you had to fit in, or you would be in trouble. But and there was something else then that I was just thinking about. Oh my God, and it's gone out of my head, about talking about areas where you have to fit in. Oh yeah, a student I had once. You know, I mean, things with my job, I meet so many people. And I had a girl. She was a doctor at the hospital here in Spain, and she was an eye doctor, but she was Polish. And she was going to London to there's a big eye hospital in London, which I can't remember the name of it. You probably may know. And she was going there to do like, don't know how to. So she wasn't doing a course. She was doing it's almost like a work experience, because it's a very famous eye hospital, and she was going to, you know, be there and get some experience, etc. And she was going to stay in, I think it was Brixton or somewhere like that. And when we were talking about it, and I said to her, well, you know, you've got to be careful at night. And she was like, what? Like, because she's Polish, then she's lived in Spain. She's never been to England. She doesn't know that there are, you know, she probably imagines England like, you know, the Queen all sat round having a afternoon tea or whatever. She doesn't know about inner cities and things like that. And I said to her, look, you've got to be careful if you're walking around London, any part of London at night, just like any big city. She really sort of surprised her, because I think she has this vision. Thing is, when you don't come from a place, you don't know which are the bad areas, if you like, or the good areas, or you don't know what particular problems are simmering, if there's a drug problem, if there's a, you know, a mugging tendency for people to be mugged. You don't know all the background, do you, of places? So you know, when you go to live in a new place, they were probably really pleased when they were given that house, but they obviously didn't know maybe the sort of toxic environment that they were going to live in. But anyway, well, I do feel like obviously justice, I do feel like justice was served there. I think 44 years and the 10 years for arson, I presume, as well. Oh no, he said concurrently, didn't he? So it's 44 years. That's a good sentence. He's 31 though, so he will be, if he serves his full term, he will be, God, you know, I really am that rubbish at adding up. 75, which, you know, these days is not so old. He could have another 10, 15 years of, you know, useful life, or, you know, life ahead of him, you know, independent life. You know, he could, it depends on what his health is like when he comes out, I suppose, but he'll have been looked after. There you go. So that's so it's obviously not a happy ending, because it would have been better if it would never have happened in the first place. But I think that's a good sentence. So well done, that judge, which I think she was a lady judge. I'm not saying that male judges wouldn't have given a good sentence, but who is the judge? Yeah, I only know it's because it says she will sentence him, but I don't know who the judge was. Okay, so I'll see you later in the live if you're around. Remember to always live and love very, very carefully. And as always, I will see you very soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you.